Hello and welcome to the Tough Girl podcast, which is all about motivating and inspiring you. I'm your host, Sarah Williams. Today, I'm delighted we're going to be speaking to Allie Bailey. Allie has run over 60 races from half marathons to 100-mile ultras. Allie's passionate about empowering women in sport and especially about endurance racing. Most recently, she's been the first woman to run across a 100-mile wide frozen lake in Mongolia. Hi, Allie.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
I'm fabulous, thank you. So where have you just come back from, or where are you travelling between?
So I've just come back from Man vs Lakes, which was a rat race event that is up in the Lake District. So yeah, I'm trying to get through all of their events this year, kind of partners with them and have a lovely time with them. But this one is it's kind of, I'd say it's more of an adventure than a race, to be honest. I mean, people do race it, but you've got you start off on Morecambe Downs. It's 10k. We had to start at 12:30 in the afternoon because they have to do it dependent on tides. But so I was like, this is amazing. It's a race that starts at 12:30. I can go out the night before, not have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But basically, they have a tractor, and the tractor drives off across the sands, which are kind of like estuary mud. You run across that for 10k, which is the most fun you can have with your clothes on. Then you get off, and you're on marshland and bogs and stuff. Then you kind of start taking on the hills. I think it's about 4,000 foot of elevation. It's obviously it's in the Lake District, so you've got some hills. And then about 30 kilometres in, you get the fun bit, which is the obstacles, which are kind of water based. So you're jumping in the lake, swimming through the lakes with your packs on. There's loads of kind of OCR stuff. There was monkey bars above water. There was like trampolines that you had to jump across and fall in and all that sort of stuff. I'm not from an OCR background, so I just sort of stared at the monkey bars, laughed and jumped in the water. There was no way I was going to be able to do that. But yeah, it was really, really good fun. A really challenging one. Like I say, so it was 50k, I think, about 31 miles. But yeah, we had a lovely time. Nice weather, nice people. I'm back now and my calves really hurt. So yeah, good weekend.
Oh, amazing. It's incredible. Now, I know you've done a huge amount of races from half marathons to 100-mile ultras. And, you know, your 2018 is looking jam-packed with races. But before we start talking about running and the different races that you've done, how would you introduce yourself?
So I tend to introduce myself as a mid-pack ultra runner. And I was having this conversation with someone the other day about the snobbery around describing yourself. You know, like you don't just say I'm a runner, you say I'm an ultra runner. But I think it's more me explaining to people I'm not very fast because I'm obviously not very fast. But yeah, I kind of would explain, you know, it's not like I'm professional. I'm a very normal human being and I just really like running and I like meeting people and I like. But basically, I think there's the sort of weird part of me that's attempting to break myself and seeing how far I can go before I actually do break myself. But I am 100% normal human being. I drink beer. I have a nice time. I have a life. I don't particularly, subscribe to any weird diets. I kind of just get on with it. I find it a normal thing to do. My normal friends, as I call them, do not think it's very normal. But yeah, so I don't know. Like, yeah, that's it.
Have you always been into running?
No, I got into it 6 or 7 years ago. So I was terrible at school. I hated sport, proper goth. Used to sit in the corner or in the library, trying not to get bullied, and rubbish at everything, rubbish at sport. And it wasn't until I got to university where I basically, you know, the temptations of booze and nachos and partying all night kind of took their toll on me. And I've always suffered with my mental health, but I got to a point at uni where I was just directionless and didn't know what was going on. There were a couple of ridiculous failed suicide attempts, a little bit of therapy, and at one point, just after I finished uni, actually, my doctor was like, "You should get some exercise," and I'm like, "Well, that's not going to happen. Have you seen Say It in me?" And he's like, "You should just try running, like try and get your serotonin levels up." And I just basically told him where to go. And then one morning, I woke up in my rubbish flat in Whitechapel, and I don't know why I did this, but I put my shoes on and decided to run to Tower Bridge, which is about a mile away. And I sort of walked, and like everybody says, it killed me the first time I did it. But when I got back, I felt so much better, like I'd actually achieved something. The achievement being a 25-minute mile, I imagine. And I thought, do you know what? This does kind of make a little bit of sense. So I started trotting around, and every now and again in my Converse trainers, which is not recommended kit. And at the time, I was working in the music industry, so it's a really high stress environment. You're out a lot. You are working very late at night. You're drinking a lot of alcohol. You're very stressed out. And my this is quite funny. My boss at the time said to me, look, we've got this band. One of them needs to lose a bit of weight. So we're going to get them out on a 10K because you're into running, Ali. I'm like, okay. I'd never done an event before. And I literally was doing 2 or 3 kilometres a week. That was it. And I was like, oh, it's something to train for, so I'll get it go. So I went out and ran the Staines 10K with some people from work. And I remember vividly that I was wearing these Converse trainers and a tracksuit bottoms and a tracksuit top. And I nearly died, but I did finish it. And I was like, this is amazing. I love this. Like, I got a medal and there's a bit of achievement. And so I think that kind of kicked stuff off. And I just kind of kept trotting around. I don't honestly remember a lot of that part of my life because it was very sort of depressed, dark time. But I do remember that I was going out and about and trotting around. And then my mum got really sick. She got breast cancer. And so that kind of rocked everything. And I decided that I was going to try and raise some money. I'd always wanted to do London Marathon. I'd watched it on TV loads of times. I had this weird do it before you're 30 thing. And I entered with a breast cancer research company because obviously it was free and I'd get in, except I had to raise money. So I entered to that and I took it so seriously. I stopped drinking. I was eating really well. I stopped smoking cigarettes, which is my favourite thing to do. And I really took it seriously. I did like 40 days of living like a hermit, did Brighton Half. However, I got injured and I thought I was going to have to pull out. And I remember ringing breast cancer and being like, I've got an injury. It's an ITB issue. I did not know what an ITB was, but it was something that was an issue. And I was crying on the phone and my physio told me, not to run. She was like, you can run, but it's going to really hurt. You might do self-damage. But I'm quite bloody minded. And I was like, I can't lose this place. I have to go out and do it. And I so wanted to do it in sub 4. So I went out and I took loads of painkillers and I got through it, but I did it in 4:02 and I wanted to do it in 4. So that basically was the birth of a monster because I was like, I've got to go back. I've got to get that 4. I don't know why it was 4. It just was. I picked that out of the air. And that was it. And I basically thought, I'm going to have to go back and do London. I'm going to, have to keep training. I felt really good at that point. I felt like I was kind of getting better and it was helping me to deal with my depression. Then the worst thing of all happened, and that was that my sister had seen me on TV, like running down past Buckingham Palace. And she was like, oh my God, you're so inspiring. I'm going to run a marathon. And I was like, go on then. You've got 3 kids. Like, you're 11 years older than me. You're never going to be able to train for it. But she did. And she did a trail marathon and that was it. It was on. So now I had the competitiveness myself. I have to get that 4-hour marathon, but also the competitiveness of my sister where I was like, oh my God, if she's doing it, then I've got to keep doing it and I've got to keep doing it better. So that was kind of where it was born. And then I started entering more and more races. I was kind of doing 1 marathon a year. I did London a few times and then I started getting into trail running and, I live in London, so trail running wasn't really a thing, but I did a White Star running event, which was all trail in Dorset where I was brought up and I loved it. It was completely different. People were so nice. You don't get to talk to a lot of people on road races because they're all racing or I'm from London. So I'm like, just don't talk to people. But this was totally different and it was really chilled out and everyone was talking and they had an amazing aid station and it was beautiful. And I was like, this is it. This is my, these are my people. I love them. I need to do more of this stuff. And I kind of used it as training. And, around that sort of time, I was 2 or 3 years into my running career. It's not a career, but, my little running hobby. And I was doing lots of half marathons. I was doing a lot of sort of 15K, 10K stuff around Clapham where I lived. And it just started to build, the marathons just started to build up. And then the ultimate came when my sister decided she was doing ultra. And I was like, what's an ultra then? She's like, oh, it's longer than a marathon. And then there's one in the New Forest called the Pony Express. And I love the New Forest. And she's like, it's 30 days, Saturday, 30 days, Sunday. You can stay at my house. And I was like, damn it, she's doing it. I've got to do it. So I did it. And I absolutely loved it. And I could not believe I couldn't believe I'd achieved it. Like, I really couldn't. So, yeah, that's kind of where it all started upping from there. And since then, I've kind of done... I've probably done about 60, 70 marathons and ultras. My distances range from marathon distance through to 100 milers. And, then I have multi-day events, which are kind of longer than that. But it's kind of got completely out of control now. And I'm kind of finding myself every weekend doing something else. So that's basically a brief history of how I've come to be sitting here in front of my computer.
No, it's incredible, and it's so inspiring as well, because you just come across as so normal and so down to earth. And I can picture, running in your Converse shoes for the first time, and taking 25 minutes to do 1 mile, which is absolutely fine. It's it's never about comparison, but it is about getting out there and doing it, and feeling that sense of achievement. It's interesting you mentioned the word achievement like quite a few times. How old were you when you started running?
I was about 28, but then my first marathon, I'm 37 now, 37 this year actually, and I was about 28, but I didn't start the marathon thing till I was 30, which is kind of quite late on, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, when I go out to trail races, I see all these young whippersnappers with their skinny little legs, and all kind of super fit, I find that can be a little bit. It can be a bit scary, like whenever I go to races, I'm trying to put together like a Venn diagram of runners, and you have the guys at the front who I call Salomon Man, who've got all the kit, like all of it, and they are very quiet, and they sort of stand there and they're thin, and they sort of are looking around at people, and then you kind of get the mid-pack ultra runners who obviously do quite a lot, but they're a bit more hench. A lot of them are female, well, more and more are female, which is brilliant. And then you kind of get the back of the pack plodders, who are the most fun, as far as I'm concerned, because they're the ones that want to chat. They're the ones that I personally find most inspiring. I mean, I think that ultra running is more than just distance. It's about time on your feet. And if you're doing a marathon, and I've seen this happen, if you're doing a marathon and you come in at night after 9 hours, having run 26.2 miles, you have been out there for 9 hours, whereas I've been out there for 4. And that's ultra running. That's ultra endurance. That's been really a really difficult thing to do. Any sort of marathon situation is a difficult thing to do, but I've got more respect for those people who really push through and complete these things in the longer times than I have for the guys or the girls that do live and breathe this life. And it's just a question of why you do it. I was talking to someone at the weekend about why you do it, and there's a lot of people missing the obstacles at a Man versus Lake because they wanted to get the time, whereas I was more like, when will I ever get the chance to climb up a ramp in the middle of a lake in Coniston and then slide back down it and then swim across? I'll never get that chance. And I did Man versus Coast a couple of weeks ago. Again, when am I going to get the chance to run out to the edge of a cliff, jump off it safely, knowing nothing's going to happen to me, and then swim across the bay and get back out again? Like, it's experience and adventure, and not so much for me about winning prizes or being the best. It's about saying to people that literally anything can happen. And if someone had told me 10 years ago that my hobby, it would be going out every weekend and running for hours and hours and hours on end and meeting all these great new people, I would have been like, no, that's not for me. I basically swapped music festivals for running, and I get so much more out of it than I did before. It's I just think it's the best thing ever. I just think a lot of people are frightened of not being fast enough, not being good enough, or not being fit enough, or other people judging them. But that's just rubbish. If you're going to go and do a half marathon in Hackney, it's a completely different thing doing a 28-mile run in Shaftesbury across hills and through trails and splashing through muddy rivers. It's two totally different things. So I think it's a case of, if you're thinking about taking up running, you need to choose your tribe and choose your reason. And if your reason is to become the best, that's absolutely fine. And you go find those people that want to be the best. But if your reason is that you want to do something for yourself, you find that tribe. And there are so many of them out there. Like, I could talk for days about how many there are. But it's about doing it for the reasons that you want to do it, right? And the thing that upsets me the most is when people say, I can't believe that you can do that, because literally anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. There's a guy that beats me in trail races. He's got one leg. He's got a blade. And he beats me running up hills. And I'm like, this guy, man, he's always beating me. But it just goes to show you that literally anyone can have a go at this. Anybody. So that's kind of my big message to people.
I think it's quite interesting when you talked initially about sort of growing up, life in your 20s and what that was like for you, sort of quite a dark time, lots of mental health, failed suicides, struggling at university, having sort of family health problems, and then sort of in your 30s with the running and with the participation and finding your tribe and getting out there every weekend. I mean, looking back over your 20s and then sort of being able to compare what you've sort of achieved in your 30s, what do you think you've learned most from being able to have running in your life?
one of the things I find really interesting is I wanted to work in the music industry since I was 14 years old. I saw a little snippet in Smash Hits magazine. Some of your listeners may be too young to remember that magazine, but it was a great magazine. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to go and I want to work in the music industry, and that's what I'm going to do. And I went to a pretty awful girls' grammar school, awful in that, I got in through the 11 plus. I was very poor, from a very poor family, and a lot of those girls got in from private schools. So from the minute I got there, I was an outsider. I found it hard to make friends. I got bullied really badly. I wasn't good at sport because sport was a clique. Sport was like, you are a fit person or you are not. And I was an academic person. So I was music, English, drama, clever. And the reason that I was all those things was because I was stuck in the library every lunchtime because nobody wanted to play with me, or nobody wanted me to be on their team because I was too shy. I was frightened. I was scared of being bullied. So I didn't do it. And then when I eventually came to university, I started to find my people a little bit more. I went to a very creative university, Goldsmiths in London. I was accepted. I was out partying. I found the people that loved music, and music was my first passion. I started doing things like put on club nights, and I was kind of achieving stuff. But when I finally broke into working for a record label, everything was about who you know, how popular you are, if you're important enough people to talk to at events, what you're working on. And it's just your life becomes enveloped in this bizarre grading system of, are you cool enough? Are you successful enough? It's about money. It's about power. It's about, it's very cutthroat. And, being a woman in that industry is 76 times more difficult, in my opinion, because your voice is not heard. And especially this was like sort of 2008, 2009, when the music industry was on the turn. So digital was coming in. It was getting very difficult. It was already starting to get difficult to sell records, and the pressure was extremely high. And I found myself, working, getting to work at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, hungover, working all day, going to meetings, feeling like basically a piece of shit because I was just like being talked over by men, and I didn't have a voice, and I was really trying to work hard but not getting any recognition. Then having to go out at night for dinners, having to go to gigs, having to go to after parties, out till 4 o'clock in the morning, drinking as a way of coping with the stress, going to bed for 2 hours, get up, repeat, and do that over and over again, and do it at weekends because they want you at festivals, and you have to be talking to people. You can't. There's no downtime. And through this, I became a person I didn't want to become. I became very kind of self-centered. I lost a marriage through it. I became quite hard. I became quite mean, and I was literally lost. I was just scared. I was playing this role of this person that I thought I should be being, and the inside of my brain was I'm depressed, and the inside of my brain was battling this depression through alcohol and through, no, it's going to be okay. It's fine because you know this person, you know that person, you hang out with famous people think you're cool, and that's not a good way to live your life because it wasn't a real thing. I wasn't getting any sort of nourishment from that at all. And you can have discs hanging on your walls, you can have records that you've worked on, but it doesn't matter because nobody cares apart from you. And in those industries, those creative industries that are hard, nobody cares for anybody apart from themselves. So it got to the point where I was so depressed that I was being told to go out running, being told to do this stuff, and it was kind of, the running was eating its way into my life, but I couldn't do it as much as I wanted to because of my lifestyle. And then eventually I decided to go and become freelance and do the job that I do freelance to kind of free up more time. That again was as a result of kind of a breakdown situation where I was like, I can't cope with this anymore. I'd started to see the world for what it was because I was a bit more grown up, and I'd also started hanging around with people that were running in these mainly, I find it mainly trail and ultra communities. And when you go out to a trail race or an ultra race, nobody cares what you do for a living. Like, running's a leveler, so no one ever asks you, what do you do? Oh, how many records have you sold? Oh, do you know any famous people? It's like, no one cares. You could go on a bin man, don't matter. Like, at the end of the day, there's a shared sense of community and a shared sense of what you're there for, and what you're there for is to run. And the reason that you run could be fitness, it could be mental health, it could be because you want to challenge yourself, it could be to raise money, it could be to win. But those people don't care about any sort of social standing. You're all on the same level once you're at the start of a 100-mile race. And I absolutely love that. And I believe that humans are inherently kind people, because if we weren't, we'd all be dead. And you've got all the terrible stuff that goes on in the world, but you've also got people that support each other, and running communities are the absolute best way to do that. I live in London, so I do have a little bit of beef with what I would call cliquey running communities, who I feel are a bit like those girls at school that wouldn't accept me or let me play netball or like do hockey or whatever, because it's a bit like, it's very closed, and it's a bit like, it's not that encouraging. It's a bit like, how fast can you run? Okay, we'll keep up with the slowest person in the pack. They don't. You have to pay to join. You have to wear the T-shirt, which is usually just, basically a branding exercise for some massive ego who sat at the top of these groups. And I don't find it inclusive. And I think people look at that and go, oh, I can't do it. This is why parkrun is so popular, because everyone can do parkrun. It doesn't matter if you do 30 minutes or if you're out the front elbowing kids out the way to get a 17-minute PB. It doesn't matter. It's for everybody. No one's judging anyone, because literally there is the whole of society is represented within those groups of people. Whereas if you kind of get into like the Instagram famous, young, fit, smoothie drinking, vegan eating Londoners, I just feel like it's another exclusive club. And I just want people to think about, if you're going to go join a club, think about what your aims are. If you want to go and be fast, and if you want to have cool kit, then go and do it for those reasons. But if you want to be accepted, if you're frightened, and if you think that people aren't going to support you, the best thing to do is go out and find someone, that's a smaller group, someone like Parkrun. Or another really good one is Good Gym, because Good Gym, no one judges you at Good Gym, because there's the running is only a part of that. It's about running to the challenge, which is painting someone's living room or tidying up their garden, and then coming back. So no one's sprinting. There's no PBs, there's no timing, there's just a bit of running, loads of community of chatting to people, and doing something good that makes you feel happy. So I just think a lot of people have the wrong idea about it. And when when I meet people and they say, they find out, I don't tend to talk about it with people I don't know, the whole running thing, because I just find it a bit ego boosty, gross, and I'm not in it for people to tell me that they think I'm brilliant, which it makes my skin crawl. But if I do have to talk to people about it, a lot of the time they'll be like, oh God, I could never do that. I don't have the time. I don't have this. I don't have that. And I'm like, there's so many groups. If you're a mum, there's Run Mummy Run. If you're a dad, there's dads that run. If you live in the city, there's Good Gym. If you live near a park, the park run. You don't have to go and join, I'm not going to name any names, but you don't have to go and join these super cool, super fit city clubs or whatever. You can kind of go and find your crowd. And that's a really important thing, I think, for people to understand.
When you run, what are you thinking about? What's going through your head?
It depends what sort of run it is. So if I'm running, if I'm training, this is really bad. I've been actually really bad the last couple of months because I've just moved house. So I've moved house. I've got a couple of things going on with work. I've got loads of running on, and I've kind of just stopped running in the week. So I this week, that's it. It's just for me. It's just for training. It's to clear my head as well. But I'm like, I haven't got time to run. Classic. I have got time to run. I can run commute. But so if I'm running in the week, if I'm training, usually it's what I've got to do this week, compartmentalize it, sort it out. What's making you feel anxious, sort that out. Oh, look, a dog. That's a classic. Always, oh, look, there's a dog. And going, okay, good. I've done, however many miles it is. Doesn't matter however many miles. I used to beat myself up about my runs in the week. Like that wasn't a very fast 10K or whatever. But now I'm like, do you know what? I'm training for ultras at the end of the day. Like I want to be able to run as far as is humanly possible without stopping or stopping just a bit. So I always now placate myself with, doesn't matter how slow you are, it's time on your feet. You can walk a bit if you want. Taking the forest, Highgate Wood being a forest, or taking some air, or have a look at that dog, or play with it, or whatever. So I tend to use it during the week as a stress release, list writing, sorting out my life type thing. When I am running at the weekends, all I'm thinking about is food and how glorious nature can be and how wonderful and kind people are. And if you're running an ultra or marathon, you don't have time to check Facebook. You don't have time to look at the news. You don't have time to fret about what's going on in America or Russia or whatever, because you are concentrating on putting one foot in front of the other, breathing, talking to people, having a nice time, and in some cases surviving and staying awake. So when I'm doing that, I tend to think about what I'm going to eat and talk to people around me. It's not like I think about anything particularly amazing or game changing. And it used to be like I was a bit of a numbers person, so I was a bit of a, right, that's marathon 36 ticked off the list. What's 37 going to be? But now it's more like, I know that I'm happiest on the trails, and I'm happiest when I'm outdoors, and I'm happiest when I've got something tangible that I can try and achieve. And in music, there was never anything tangible. Record sales, gigs, whatever it is, there's a certain amount of luck that comes with working in the music industry. If your band aren't very good, you're not going to be able to sell records. It doesn't matter. I've marketed a lot of bands, and the band have to be good. And there has to be an element of luck in that. With running and ultra running and setting yourself physical achievements, I say physical, I always think with running, anything, it's always probably 70% mental and 30% physical. That's tangible. You want to achieve something, finish something, get a time, whatever it is, you can train, you can go out and you can complete that. And it's that, for me personally, is kind of why I do it. Recently, in the last probably year, it's become more and more important to me to help other people believe they can do it. And I'm a member of a online group. I've never joined a running club. I'm too scared to join a running club because I just think I'm not good enough. I still think that. I want to say not good enough, I mean not fast enough. I don't want to talk to people about VO2 max or cadence data or stride length or strike rate or any of that. I'm not interested. I want to talk to people about their lives and about how they are and why they do it. And I'm a member of a online community called Bad Boy Running, who little plug there, you can find them on Facebook. They have a podcast most weeks when they can be bothered to put it out, and they are a group of people that don't take it seriously. So there's some brilliant runners in that group, some amazing ones, people that have won international marathons, people that are super speedy, people that have I think Camille Herron's a member of it, and she's the 100-mile record holder. But all of us understand the importance of community, the importance of encouragement, the importance of inspiring people, but in a kind of a piss-takey way. So we'll meet up and do fun events and drink beer, but we'll also encourage people within that group to do the things that we have done. And there is a lady woman in that group called Susie, who I met through the group. I used to do a lot of White Star running events, and she would often be there working the aid station or cheering people on or whatever. She was absolutely lovely. And in December last year, I ran Bovington Marathon with her, which is a marathon around a tank range in Dorset. RIP Bovington, they don't do it anymore. But it was so fun. And I said, Susie's first marathon, she'd never done one before. And I said to her, I'll run it with you. And I did. And it took me 6.5 hours. But there was no way on God's earth I was not running with her. And, she was like, go ahead, do this. And I'm like, no, I'm going to walk a bit and splosh around the mud a bit. And I want to see you finish. And I want to see you finish with a smile on your face. And she did. And that was more rewarding than doing a sub 24-hour 100-mile or whatever. Way more rewarding, because she'd achieved something she never thought she could achieve. And she has gone on since December 2017, I think, to do 3 or 4 trail marathons. And she absolutely loves it. And that's just one example of one person who's inspired by a group to do things they would never otherwise have done. Because we're not saying it's brutal, hard, extreme. You've got to, become a nun or be teetotal or whatever for 8 months before. We're saying, get your crew together, go out for some little runs, talk to people, get some inspiration or some advice from people in the group, and just go out and see if you can do it. And if you can't, we celebrate a DNF. We think a DNF is brilliant. Everyone should have at least one on their record. And that's kind of what is most important to me now. It's about personal achievement. I like doing things other people haven't done. I like adventure. I like interesting things. I like to see the world. But ultimately, I want people to understand that running, when you say I'm a runner, it doesn't mean that you are, Paula Radcliffe or, a sub 2:30 marathon road runner. It means that you are part of a community of people that have, at the very base level, understand the importance of communicating face to face in a situation where you're all on a very similar level and doing something that's kind of, it's one of the things that we were built to do. We're built to be outside. We're built to work as communities, and that's in a digital age. I think that's being lost. So I say that the online group is extremely important, but we meet up regularly. We know each other personally now. We talk to each other. We have events. We have big marathons that we all go to and meet up at and chat, and it's lovely. And I've met some of my really close friends in that group, and I think especially if people feel depressed, anxious, don't want to go out, don't know where to start with stuff, having those people that you can first talk to online, then develop friendships with in a safe environment where there's no weird stuff going on, because I'm an admin on that group and we are very, very clear about the rules. It's brilliant. It's amazing to be like, oh, I'm not on my own. I'm not afraid. I can go out with other people and they will give me advice and they will help me. And so for me, if I can inspire 2 or 3 people to go out and do something they would never otherwise want to do, that's more rewarding than winning any race or getting any time. I think that's probably the main reason I do it.
One of the things that you're setting up at the moment is a community for ultra running badass women and women who want to enter the sport, and it's called She's Electric. Tell everybody a little bit more about She's Electric. Tell me what the plans are.
Okay, so the plans for that are, it's going very slowly because you do have to actually have a job to work and stuff. So it's going very slowly at the moment. But what I'm planning to do with that is to invite people who want to join that to come along. It's really hard because I haven't actually set up the Facebook group yet, but to basically join and talk to other women and men. It's not just about women. I don't think that we should segregate it like that, about the experiences that they've had. Meet up in person, go for a run, have a chat, or don't even go for a run, go and have a beer and talk about what you want to achieve and how to achieve it. Share kit tips. The other thing that I'm really big on is the environment and waste, and I just think we take a lot of old running kit out to Sierra Leone and the Gambia because the kids there don't have any, and I think that recycling kit is a really good thing to do. And I have so much kit that there's going to be it's basically a swap shop where people can swap their kit that they don't want anymore, or give away their race vests that they get in races, or sell their old packs when they upgrade, all that sort of stuff. We'll be looking at getting discounts for people that want to start running these events from a lot of the big companies, and we'll basically be looking to encourage people, whether they are male or female, to sort of take part in these events. But I want women to feel safe. I think a lot of women are afraid that they're too fat or they're not fit enough, or people are going to look at them in lycra and be like, oh my God, you look awful, which is just one of the most ridiculous things that you can think, because it in the right space doesn't happen. So I'm kind of hoping it's a non-exclusive way that people can list what they want to do, or say, I want to run a 50-mile ultra, or I want to run a 10K in the next year, and this is how I'm going to do it, and then to celebrate those achievements, because I don't care how far you've run, I don't care where you've been, I don't care about any of that. All I care about is that that people can inspire others and can not take it as seriously as a lot of people do, and we can achieve anything. And we are I keep saying this because I've been thinking a lot about it recently, but we are a race of people that will support each other and look after each other. It's in our nature to do that, and celebrate successes, and even celebrate failures, because if you don't fail, you never learn. And God knows I failed. Like, I've done some really, really stupid stuff, especially with nutrition, because I was always quite like, I need to be skinny. But through ultra running, I have realised that if I was skinny, I wouldn't get anywhere because I wouldn't have any reserves. So now I'm all about cheese sandwiches and crisps when I'm running, and Lucozade. And it's like, people are like, what are you doing? But I'm like, just watch me. And when I get to mile 80, I'll be running along, chatting and laughing, having a nice time. And there will be people dying out there because all they've eaten all day is gels. There is no rules. It's about how you want to make it happen, basically. And women especially, and this is why I'm calling it She's Electric, we have more endurance than men, and that's a fact. We're the ones that have the babies, and we have a baby, then we forget about that pain of that baby and have another one and another one. And it's the same thing, I think, with running. You talk to a female ultra runner, it's very rare that or just a female marathon runner, it's very rare that she'll use words like extreme, suffering, all that sort of stuff. She will say, oh my God, it was brilliant. And of course, there were parts that were really difficult and I didn't like it. But overall, it'll be a positive message 95% of the time. If you talk to men about it, they can talk about it for hours, and they will go into the minutiae of the pain and what time this started to happen and what time that happened. And it's just like, God, like, that sounds horrible. Why would you do that? Why does it have to be a sufferfest? I honestly think we're better at it. And I just think a lot of the races are marketed towards men using words like suffer and toughest and fittest and all that sort of stuff. It doesn't need to be like that, because it's not like that. It's not a sufferfest. You don't have to go and start crying and pass out at any point. It is a challenge. Most of these things are challenges rather than races, and they are completely achievable for anybody. Completely achievable. You got to get over the molehills before you climb up the mountains. And I want a community of people that won't be this sounds awful, but won't be snobby about it. Won't be like, oh, you can't do that because you haven't done this. I know people that have done ultras that have never run a marathon, but they've got the right mindset and they've walked a lot of it, and they're prepared for it. Yeah, I kind of want to break down those rules and break down those barriers and just stop women from feeling like they can't do these things, because it drives me mad. It makes me upset. It's like, you can do anything you want to do within reason. You can do anything you want to do. So you should just get out there and start doing it.
In January this year, you became the first woman in history to cross Lake, I hate this word, Khovsgol.
Khovsgol. It's Khovsgol.
Khovsgol in Mongolia on foot, running almost 100 miles across the second largest body of fresh water in the world at temperatures of, oh my goodness, minus 47. So just tell us a little bit more about this race, how it came about, why you decided to do this 100-miler across this lake in Mongolia.
So this is quite funny. I don't really like the cold. I'm a much better runner in like October, November, but I'm not big on cold. So my friend Lee said to me, "Do you want to come on an adventure?" He's a guide in the Bad Boy running group, and I was like, "I love an adventure. Where are we going? But as long as it's not cold." And he's like, "Okay, so we're going to Mongolia," and I'm like, "Okay." So he's like, "So we're run across Frozen Lake," and I'm like, "Okay." All right then. And at that point, I was a bit like, do you know what? Might as well, whatever. That's kind of my thing. Is I'm very suggestible, and if someone's like, come and do something stupid, I'll probably do it. So this race was a recce for Rat Race Adventures, who I run a lot with, and they do this list of races called the bucket list events, and they are extreme events, once in a lifetime opportunities that you will never ever get unless you do it, sort of, with this kind of organised group. So the challenge is to run across Lake Khovsgol. I think we ran from north to south. It's 100 miles long. It's 25 miles wide. In the winter, it freezes to 70 centimetres thick. So you can drive a truck over it. But it is scary because it's cold. There's no shops. There's no aid station. Well, there are aid stations, but more of that later. And there's no one. It is like literally, I guess it's a bit like the desert in that you can't see distance because it's just bleak. You can see mountains on either side, but it's very strange. It looks closer than it is. Everything looks closer than it is. We flew out to Ulaanbaatar, which is this sort of big major city in Mongolia, capital. And we flew down to a ger camp on the edge of the lake to acclimatise. We slept in gers, which are like tents with kind of fires in the middle that have chimneys coming out the top. But the minute we got to the airport, I went outside. I touched the bar on the door to go outside, and my hand stuck to it. And I was like, nope. I got outside, and I literally could not breathe. Like, your breaths are really short. It's like a very, very dry cold. There's no water. Everything is powdery. Everything's solid. And I was like, what have I done? This is really cold. So we got on a little light aircraft, flew down to the ger camp and started to acclimatise. And we did not know what we were doing. No one knew what they were doing because no one's done it before. So, we've been given a kit list. I bought probably 5 or 6 pairs of spikes, from like little rubbish spikes from the bottoms of my shoes to great big, like gnarly Catula spikes that look like something from Torture Garden. And we would sort of, the first day we got there, we went out onto the lake to start trying this stuff, and we're tiptoeing like Bambis. And like, oh, it's going to crack. It's human nature. It's like, we're going to go through. Oh. And it was actually quite funny. But we had to test kit. What's going to work? Can we take the kit off? I was wearing 4 pairs of tights all the time with a pair of salopettes over the top. And so there's 4 layers of tights, a thermal pair over all of those tights, salopettes. Then on the top, I was wearing compression, a thermal layer, a North Face fleece layer, and a coat, buffs, hoods, neck stuff, balaclavas, hats, gloves, everything. And you have to run in that across the ice. It's completely flat, except it's not completely flat because as it freezes in waves. So there's lumps and bumps. It's a bit like a technical trail. There are huge cracks in the middle of the ice. If you go on my blog, you can see the photos. And, the first day we drove across the ice from south to north to start the race. It took 5.5 hours to drive up there. And we had to stop the vans 3 or 4 times because there were huge cracks in the ice where it shifted and moved and you could kind of see through it. And the Mongolians, being badass as they are, would just basically reverse the trucks and then go at it hell for leather, like jump over these gaps. And we're all in the back going, this is funny, but it's not funny. So yeah, we got there. We started the race. It was, the night times to that point have been okay because we've been in constructed gers that are almost a bit like hotel rooms. So your bed's off the floor and you've got this fire in the middle, and the Mongolians come every 2 hours and put wood on the fire. So it's not so bad. But We ran the first day. It was a kind of test thing. There were 6 or 7 of us, and we were running straight across the ice following the Mongolians who were in sleighs pulled by ponies, the little pacing ponies. So we followed them. They marked the route, and you could see where the ponies had been because they've got little studs in their feet and they were leaving a little trail. And we were just useless. We couldn't breathe. We kept having to change clothes. The buffs froze because the minute you breathe into a buff, it freezes and gets solid. Your eyelashes, the tiny bits of sweat that were on your face, froze immediately. So your eyelashes are frozen together. Your nose is completely frozen. You start to lose concentration because when you get cold, your brain starts to work on keeping the body warm, as opposed to things like, I just took my glove off, where's my glove? That where's my glove was the most asked question of the whole week, because it's like, where's my glove? Where's my glove? I went through about 8 pairs of gloves. Top tip, put string on your gloves, because that way you can't drop them. Eating was a problem because everything was frozen. My gels were frozen, shot blocks were frozen, water freezes. You have to keep water really close to your body. This is why being a girl is great, because you stuff things down your cleavage and it keeps it relatively warm. Aid stations were hot soup, which was powered from the vans, but the minute it was poured out, you had to drink it because it freezes. My water, when I was cleaning my teeth in the morning, I had 30 seconds with that bottle of water before it froze. And that's not a joke. I couldn't put the lid back on. Wet wipes freeze. My headphones froze and snapped. Everything freezes. There is nothing that doesn't. Watches don't work. Battery packs don't work. Contact lenses freeze. It's a real case of working out what works and what doesn't, which is why we're there, basically, so we can now give advice to the people going to do the event next year. But by, the second day, we were kind of a lot more used to the ice, and the ice makes a noise a bit like thunder. So there's water moving underneath it. So as the water moves underneath, it cracks the ice, and it sounds like thunder, and it booms around the outside of the lake, and you hear this noise like lightning, and that's when you know it's going to crack underneath you, and it kind of rushes up, cracks underneath you, and you're like, oh! But you won't go through it. You won't. Like, there's only been, I think, in the history of the lake, 70 trucks have gone through it. No people have gone through it. And I'm not a truck. I'm a human being, so it's fine. And, we had the Mongolians out there checking the ice as we were going forward. They would, if they found holes in it, they would divert us around the holes. The big problem was sleep and nutrition. At night, after the first night, we were on an island, which the Mongolians had gone out to and set us up gers, which were nowhere near as comfortable as the ones that we'd had at the beginning. They are tents on grass, no ground sheet. They have mattresses, which they put directly on the ground. And so the cold just whizzes up through the mattress, and everything is freezing. Getting comfortable is hard. Going to the toilet is hard. Taking any clothes off at any point is hard. Sleeping is hard because you're scared of the cold, but you have to sleep. I think we've got 3 or 4 hours a night. The boys had all grown. I was the only girl there. The boys had all grown beards, and because they breathe on their beards would freeze. So they'd wake up with these frozen beards that sort of kept them warm, but also all icy. Food is kind of non-existent. It's very small portions that they'll cook for you, but you have to eat whatever they give you. So in the morning, your food would be a grey bowl of like gruel with a frozen bit of bread that you whack into the gruel, and it defrosts a bit, and then you have to eat it because it's all you've got. One time for lunch, we had frozen tuna baguettes on the lake, which was just the most romantic picnic I've ever had. It's like, this is absolutely disgusting, but you don't have a choice. And, we lost a lot of weight because our bodies were just basically trying to, run every day. But at the same time, there wasn't enough fuel in us. So my top tip would be to take stuff that you can warm up to the point where you can eat it. So with our gels, we were just leaving them by the fire at night, and I never ever take gels, but I just need the sugar inside me. So the sugar and the salt, anything you can get down you, is a bonus. And by the third day we had learned all the tricks in the book. I'd learned to tuck my tops in, because if you don't, you sweat into them and then snow comes out the bottom. I'd learned about my gloves. I'd learned to put them on the top of my pack. I'd learned that I need a million buffs. And I'd learned how to defrost stuff by the fire at night. I'd learned not to get up in the night to go for a wee and touch what you think is the pole of the tent, but it's actually the flue of the fire, because that will take the skin off your hands. And it was just one of the most amazing experiences. You are living with these Mongolians who, this is their life. This is what they do. They're all wrapped in fur. They've got their ponies, which is the hardest animals on earth. These men and women are amazing in their survival techniques. One night they got a shaman to come and visit us, which was brilliant. He did I hope it was a little happy dance, but I'm not sure. But that was amazing. We had Burns night supper on one of the islands, where our guide, who's Scottish, had managed to get hold of some haggis. Then made one of the other Scottish guys put a kilt on and play the bagpipes till they froze. We had reindeer for dinner one night. they embraced us into the customs of like breaking bones after the supper, and they were so welcoming. And the first day they told our guide that they thought we were going to die. The second day they were like, we can't believe what you're doing and that you're running across this. By the third day they were like, can you sign our British flag? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can we have a photo with you? Because they couldn't believe we'd done it. It's such an alien concept to them. They're like, no, you can't do that. You can't do it. But we did do it, and it was amazing. And there were times on that lake where I felt like I was falling down. Like, my mental health is very delicate, and sometimes you do question what you're doing. And there were times on that ice when I was by myself for a long period of time. And on the last day, which I think is about 34 miles, you're just like, I want to finish. I just want a decent meal. And it goes on and on and on. There's no markers. It doesn't say how far you've got to go. You ask people, and they're like, oh, it's 10K. Then you ask someone else, like, half an hour later, oh, it's actually 17K. Then you ask somebody else 2 minutes later, it's 5K. It's like, where's the end? I can't see the end because this lake's meandering round. So that's an exercise in dealing with the mental side of it, and that I can and I will finish this. I will not have that guy on a pony sled come and pick me up and put me on it. I will finish it. And we all finished it, and it was amazing. And then we went for a supper at the Mongolian embassy afterwards, which was just a delight. That first shower after having those clothes on for 5 days was just delightful. So yeah, it was absolutely epic. I would recommend it to anybody. It is an event that you can go and do. You can go and sign up for it. I think it's happening in March next year, so it should be slightly warmer, but it will still be very, very cold. And yeah, it's something that I'll just never ever forget. I'm so glad I did it. And so because of my suggestible nature, I've decided to go to Namibia, I can't pronounce it, in November to do Race to the Wreck, which is crossing the Namib Desert all the way over to the Skeleton Coast. And there's an option to do it on bike and on foot, but I'll do it on foot. I don't want to do it on bike. And then straight after that, to Panama to run coast to coast. So from the north coast to the south coast, with 4 or 5 days running through the jungle, armed with a machete and a backpack, and then kayaking down to the Caribbean. So those are the next 2 bucket list recce's that I'm going on. Although I do sort of feel like Rat Race are treating me as a guinea pig, and that my life is not worth insuring because it could all go wrong. But yeah, these are just, I don't care about how long it took me. It took me ages to cross that lake. It took me 3 days. I think the actual event will be 4 days. There was a lot of fast walking. There was some running. Obviously, you can't cover 100 miles in 3 days without actually doing some running. But it's not a case of, so I did this in this time, or there's no medals, there's no achievement, there's a personal achievement knowing I've done it. There's nothing apart from the fact that I am a 100% normal human being that does normal things and has a normal life and has to go to work like everyone else. But I can go and do this stuff, and that is a great thing for me to know. But it's also a great thing for other people to know, because there are no boundaries. You can make these things happen. You can achieve these things with support from other people. So I think as well as anyone, Sarah, it's not like get home and put a massive poster of you on the wall going, I'm amazing because I did this. It's about your journey through those situations. Yeah, that like helps you in the rest of your life. Like, there's never a time when I sit down, even when I'm really depressed, and go, I can't do this, because I know I can do it, because I've done things that I thought I couldn't. And it's helped shape kind of like the rest of my life. Like, I find myself in situations where I'm like, Christ, what am I going to do for work next? What am I going to do about paying my rent? What am I going to do about this? Oh, I shouldn't be signing up for that. But it's like, no, if you can have this positive attitude, if you can push out this message of, if you can make other people believe that you're okay, if you can make other people believe it's going to be okay, it will be okay. And it's exactly the same with mental health. Exactly the same. It's like, you feel shit at the moment, but then I felt shit in the middle of ultras. I cried on a 100-miler once and basically stopped, had a huge tantrum because I was only 6 miles from the end, because I had an existential crisis about what I was doing. And then I was like, no, you will finish this, and you can cry and you can whinge and you can feel like shit and you can feel like the world's falling apart, but you're going to do that putting one foot in front of the other. And it's exactly the same with mental health. You put one foot in front of the other, day to day to day, and you are moving forwards and not backwards or sideways. And you will come out the other end of it. You just have to keep pushing forwards. I've read a book called Relentless Forward Progress, which is a very boring ultra running book, but the title has always stuck with me. And even when I'm in a really dark, depressive episode, which thankfully is not that often anymore, I always think of those words like relentless forward progress. If you are stepping forward in a race, in a 10K, in a park run, just going out the door for a 2-mile run, walk, whatever it is, you're making progress. And that's a really important thing to think about, especially when you're on an icy lake and it's really cold and you really want a beer. But every time you open the beer the Mongolians are giving you, it's too frozen to drink. It's the worst thing ever.
Ali, where's the best place for people to find more information out about you, your running, your Facebook group, the Bad Boy Running Podcast?
So if you want to find out about me, I have a website. It's alliebailey.co.uk. It's very easy to find. I have an Instagram page, which is AB Runs, which is pictures of me doing running, because I can't use my own Instagram because my friends will stop liking me. I have got a Facebook page as well, which is linked to that, which has sometimes I go out and do little running events, especially around marathon training time. I'll meet up with people if they want to and go on a little slow run, which usually ends up in the pub. Bad Boy Running is on Facebook, Bad Boy Running Podcast. The podcasts are all on Spotify and all on iTunes, and there's some pretty interesting runners featured in there. A lot of absolute rubbish babble, but it's a lovely place to go if you are thinking about doing anything. You know, we do take the piss out of cyclists and triathletes. We do call them cheats, but it's all in good humour. And to anyone that's got any sort of challenge that they're thinking of doing, it's a really good place to go and ask for advice on kit, or just if you want to go and laugh at yourself, it's brilliant too. So yeah, those are all the places that you can find me. And I'm always out and about trotting around races. So if you see me out in my Bad Boy Running shirt, then come and say hello, because I like talking to people.
Ali, thank you so much for coming on to talk more about your running journey, especially the elements regarding mental health. And also I really do appreciate your openness and your honesty. It's been really inspiring.
It's lovely to talk to you. Thanks for having me on.
Hey Tribe, I hope you enjoyed that episode with Allie Bailey. What an awesome attitude about running. Absolutely love it. It is all about getting out there, getting fit, getting active and having fun. And another key thing is not to compare yourself to anybody else who is out there running, because there's always going to be somebody who's running faster, further, quicker, whatever it is. So run for you, run for your own personal enjoyment. I've got a couple of recommendations from the Tough Girl podcast for you to go back and listen to. Take a listen to Audrey McIntosh, who at 50 years old went and ran the Antarctic Ice Marathon and the Antarctic 100k race. Absolutely inspiring stuff. A lot of talk about the training and the mental preparation behind that. We've spoken with Amy Hughes, who ran 53 marathons in 53 days. Emma Timmis, who's ran across Africa twice. Ali Young, she absolutely loves to run, and she runs distances from 800 meters to 24-hour endurance races. Millie Voice, an ultra distance runner. Susie Chan, from running 1 mile to 100 miles and beyond. I've possibly interviewed maybe over 30, 40 runners. You can also listen to my episode about running the Marathon des Sables. A little bit different from running across a frozen lake in Mongolia. This is running 6 marathons in 6 days across the Sahara Desert, carrying everything you need on your own back. But the best place to go and find out more information about the incredible women that I've interviewed for the Tough Girl podcast is at toughgirlchallenges.com. And on the website, you can find more details out about me, my background, my story, more information about the different women that I've interviewed. And I've interviewed hundreds of them, possibly like 181, 82, something like that. So well worth checking out. You can also read the blog posts, and you can also read the books that I've written as well. I've written 3 books, one about running the Marathon des Sables, one about climbing Kilimanjaro, and the third one about working as a chalet host for 6 months. So I'm currently out on the road at the moment. I started my big adventure of 2018, which is cycling from Vancouver in Canada on the 10th of September, heading down the Pacific Coast Highway all the way down to Baja, California, and riding off-road there to end up in Cabo. So I hope you've been following along with my journey. I should be vlogging it and sharing it on my YouTube channel and sharing it on social media as well. You can find all the links at toughgirlchallenges.com. Massive thank you to all my patrons and supporters, everybody who backs me financially and supports me every single month. Think of it as an equivalent of paying for a coffee for me every month, or think of it as a regular magazine subscription. If you listen to the Tough Girl podcast every single week and you get benefit from it, you enjoy it, it motivates you, it inspires you, it gives you that little added oomph to your day, and you are a regular listener, then please consider becoming a patron, because what that allows me to do is to pay it forward. It allows me to be financially supported for the content that I am creating, and which in turn allows me to reach and connect with more women, which in turn means that more women and girls will be inspired inspired to get fit and active and to travel and explore, which in turn means that their friends and family will be inspired by them. So it's just going to be this massive positive spiral. And you can be a part of that. You can be a part of the mission to increase the amount of female role models in the media, from donating $5 a month to $10 a month to $25 a month, whatever it is that you can afford monthly. It really does make a massive difference. Please do go check out patreon.com, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast. And that's where you can find all of the different tiers. Massive thank you again to everybody who's been supporting. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll be back with you next Tuesday for another awesome episode of the Tough Girl Podcast. Have an incredible day wherever you are listening. All right, take care. Lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.